Having some slight issues downwind sim with my microphone over in the voice channel on Discord, so I'm sorry. I'm working on that. Welcome everybody else. J Drums, hello. Great to see you, my friend. And we're getting ready to get started here. A little bit of a clunky intro here, but that's all right. The main reason for us to do this is just to talk Bush League backcountry fly-ins and have some fun doing that. I think everything is pretty good as far as that goes, but downwind sim, I'm gonna see what's going on here with my voice channel. Maybe it's one of those things where I don't know. I've got my microphone. My output device appears to be correct. This is gonna kind of mess things up if I can't hear anybody. Here's what I'm gonna do in Discord. I'm gonna exit out and come back in. I'm just gonna restart Discord, and I'll be right back in there. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get the stream started. And hopefully, I wonder if I've got a little something going on here. Just a second. I'm gonna get my task manager up here. Sometimes Discord will start multiple times. Yeah, like right now. Okay, like I have 4 occurrences of Discord, and I don't know why. So we're gonna just try to get rid of a couple of them because I just got something else, ended something else I didn't want to. All right, well we'll see what happens here. But anyway, welcome everybody. I'll get Discord going again, and we'll try to get the aircraft in the air. I've got all my covers and everything removed. By the way, downwind sim, that was the problem I had earlier, or last night, I guess, when I tried to fire this thing up. The reason why it wasn't starting is because I had all my covers and stuff on. So that, needless to say, doesn't work very well. But as you know, unless you've been living under a rock for the past couple of days, hey, there we go. All right. I can hear you, downwind sim. Hopefully, I can hear you. Hey, Robert Valkyrie. Our first skull and welcome, and thank you for the resub 11 months in a row. That's crazy, man. Thank you so much. So anyway, you hear now, finally, now that I've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. VR, Mr. Big City, Mr. St. Louis Slamma. He's over in the Discord voice channel. Everybody's welcome to join us, by the way, in the Discord voice channel. And we're going to just relive memories of 24 months of 2 straight years of Bush League backcountry fly-ins. And I'm going to get the plane going, but the aircraft is going to be just a small part of what we're doing today. It's actually merely a distraction, if I'm being totally honest here. In fact, I don't even have. I got to set up my Bravo here because, yeah, I don't have everything set up correctly, and it's not going to like that probably. All right, what's prop control is going to just stay forward, I guess. Okay. I don't think that's probably good, but. Anyway, we'll get the plane going. That'll be just a little bit of background noise while we talk about all of our backcountry adventures. I've got Downwind Sim here, who is the mastermind of probably most of what we've done in the Bush League backcountry, and he's going to talk about not only today's.
You should take credit for some of them.
Well,
you've done your part here, young man.
Yeah, I have the ideas, and you're the one that puts them in motion. But anyway, he's going to talk about tomorrow's event, and we're going to also just I'm going to walk through 24 different Bush League backcountry fly-ins, and we're just going to I'm going to mess around with the plane while we talk about those things. So while I'm getting the plane started, I think what I'm going to do is just turn it over to you, Mr. Downwind Sim, if you want to just talk a little bit about this month's event. I don't know how many people have had a chance to go check out your post on downwindsim.com, but I'm going to let you just kind of introduce the event while I try to get this PC6 started.
Okay, you want me to be the distraction? No problem.
Yes, yes.
Well, tell your mom not to go too crazy with the junior first officers city. They're back there behind you. So
I know he's
just
worked extremely hard to get that thing created, and yeah,
yes, yes.
she
All
has
right.
different
Well,
city planning designs, I guess.
she has a few more years as a city planner than the junior first officer. But
I
tell your
concur.
tell your mom hello for me.
I
So,
Downwind Sim says
um,
hi, Mom. Hello. Happy Halloween.
yeah, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. So tomorrow, November 1st, is the Bush League Backcountry Fly-In Series number 25, which is kind of hard for me to believe, but it is the beginning of year number 2. Um, Actually, it's the start of year number 3, I guess, right? So we've done 2
Correct.
years, and this is the start of number 3. But we're celebrating the second anniversary, and Mountain Air, as you have said, Melvin, is sort of become the unofficial headquarters of the Bush League Backcountry Fly-In, strictly by accident. Strictly by accident. But we this whole mess started 2 years ago when I don't know, one of us stumbled across this crazy place called Mountain Air, and you pretty much have to be on the numbers to make it in and out of that place safely. It's an airstrip that's carved into the back of Slickback Mountain in western North Carolina. And if you play golf, that's I don't know how much the green fees are, but
Oh, oh man.
it's if you can afford an airplane to fly there, you can probably afford to play golf there. Let's just put it that way. But we started there 2 years ago. It was, I believe, it was you and myself, and Al South was there. And then after another 15 minutes or so, Slant Alpha Adventures popped in on us, and all 4 of us, probably for 30 or 45 minutes, flew circuits in uh, in that um, in that area and had just a great time. And that sort of became the beginning of the Bush League Backcountry Fly-In series. We ended up shortly after that out in Idaho as just an idea that I thought, well, we'll take off and take off from Boise, Idaho, and see if we could find this what you'd like to call angry scratches out in the out in the out in the bush, and and it's grown from there. There's the junior first officer himself
He's
in person, ladies and gentlemen.
always giving us the inside scoop on what's going on, by the way, just in
Rob
case you're
says,
wondering there.
yeah, Rob says he can't seem to download the overlay link. Rob, I will check that for you right now. Let me make sure that that's working like it should.
All right, so I have somehow got the porter working. I'm not going to go on VATSIM because there is some ATC here, and I want to focus more on again on the event itself and having the conversation in it. And so I don't want to mess things up with having to talk to ATC. So I'm filing IFR and I'm filing direct, and we're gonna rock on over to Mountain Air at about, oh gosh, what do we need to be here? Probably every bit of about 6,000 feet, I'd say.
At
Maybe,
least.
yeah. I'm
The
look.
traffic pattern there is 5,000 feet, so you're going to need more than that
I
probably.
I think just to make it there, yeah. So how about this? We'll go 8,000, and and I'll be shortly departing here. I'm just trying to figure out which direction we need to take off. Um, But yeah, so talk about, I guess, take us through what's going to be different, and we're going to go back. Just be forewarned. And I didn't prep Downwind Sim, by the way, chat with any of this, that he was going to be interviewed and on the spot.
This was
Um,
all by memory.
but I'm going to work. I'm going to go back through, and we're gonna talk about all 24 of the Bush League flights. And but I want you to, I guess, tell the folks that, and you're going to be speaking more to the veterans here, the Bush League veterans. What's going to be different this month that no one has seen or heard of up to this point?
Well, I should probably prerequisite my comments by saying this, and I alluded to this in a post on my Discord, that this little adventure is really designed for X-Plane because it utilizes some things that um, unfortunately I'm sort of only a developer for X-Plane. I barely have time for that, and I don't have time to learn Microsoft Flight Simulator. Whether or not Microsoft Flight Simulator can do the things that this month is going to feature, I have no idea. It probably can, but I don't know how to do it, nor do I have time. But I am going to make some concessions and some ways that you could probably accomplish this same thing in Microsoft Flight Simulator. But let me just say that it won't be nearly as immersive as what we have in store on the X-Plane side. The adventure begins tomorrow night, November 1st, in or at Mountain Air. So it's 2 November Charlie 0. And we're going to meet up there at our regular start time. I think it's 7 Central, and that'd be 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I've provided all of the details about what you need to download on the article at downwindsim.com. You can go there, and it's Bush League Backcountry Flying number 25. But this one's a little different, and I guess, Melvin, without giving too much away, let me just say we're going to start there. I can say that, right?
uh, I think that is safe to say. Yeah, this is not one where we have the option of flying multiple ways and like we've done in some. This is definitely a more of a, like a, I guess, kind of, again, back to the roots, like where we have a little conga line and we all start at the same spot, and the goal is to try to finish at the same spot. So yes, I think that is accurate.
All right, are you ready for takeoff there?
I am. I'm just doing my last few things here, and I'm really hoping that I've got. I mean, I got about a 50-50 chance of prop striking this thing, because when we get going, you know how this nose is so heavy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be departing Fayetteville traffic, blah blah blah, radio call, IFR westbound. So I'm a 3-point takeoff, and I'm just going to pull this sucker up. I'm still undecided as to whether or not I'm going to fly this plane or the Beaver tomorrow.
Okay.
And this flight may have a lot to do with what I end up doing, depending on how poorly or well I fly this plane.
Very good. Rob, Valkyrie, I just wanted to let you know too that I just checked the link and it works okay on my end. So if you have more problems, give me a shout and we'll make sure you get the file to you. And Melvin, thank you for catching I had a typo on the original post and was able to fix that. So I appreciate your input on that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's like my role, the beta tester role, and so glad I could help out.
Absolutely, yeah. So just to elaborate a little bit more, again, without giving anything away, this Bush League trip is actually the very first one that we've done, where there's a requirement, an equipment requirement in the type of aircraft that you fly. Um, mainly, or most notably, it's important that you have a working ADF receiver in your airplane,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also important that you're able to, once you tune in the nav aid, it's also important that you're able to monitor, like typically what the Morse code station identifier would be. So, for instance, like every VOR has a Morse code associated with it, and typically you can tune in a VOR and then switch your headset monitoring to where you can listen to that, and you'll hear a Morse code identifier being transmitted on that frequency. The non-directional beacons have a very similar function, and so you'll need uh, that to complete this flight.
I'm trying to find. Uh, if I was a little better planner here, I would have picked a route that flew by an NDB, but I don't know that I don't know that there is one here near Fayetteville.
Well,
And
I just recorded earlier this afternoon a little demo of what this sort of thing might look like, and
yep.
I found one in North Carolina. Um, well, here's the frequency, 417.
All right. So I've got. By the way, I've got the YouTube link here, and I do have this. That's my backup plan. Is to pull up that video, and we may still be able to do it and watch that as well.
Okay.
So 417. So this is the Porter. So this is kind of what in the video Ralph is alluding to, the fact that every aircraft is a little different. So for me, I go down to here and I'm going to pull up 417. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to make sure this is on ADF.
I don't know exactly where you started, Melvin, so you
Uh,
might be too far away from this station.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I started
Where did you start?
well east of Mountain Air, so it may not work. And then I think I have to transfer it over here
You
in order
started at
to.
Fayetteville? Is
I
that where you
did,
started?
yes.
So how about let's go to
I'm going to turn
how about
ADF on. Oh, you got
there's
another
one
one?
that's closer. Yeah, 257. 257.
257. So I'm going to transfer that over, and we're just listening. And so like again with mine, I have to have this on. Um, yeah, I'm still I think a little too far away because it's not. Oh no, it's tracking. It's tracking. So I wonder what.
So you're
I wonder.
switched down there in the radio panel.
Oh, that's right. I had to go all the way to test, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'm
So
listening. I'm listening. And I don't remember which side I had to be on, but there was a. There it is. I can hear. I don't know how well you guys can hear that, but.
you can hear it now,
Mhm.
Melvin?
Very faintly, but
Yeah.
anyway, I can hear it. But I guess the point being is test a little bit and see. So I have my active frequency has got to be on the left. I've got to be over all the way on test for me, which is equivalent to downwind sim was showing you the I think it's called the BFO
Beat
option.
frequency oscillator is what that stands for.
So if you have BFO mode, that's what's going to work for you. Or if you're in a Thranda, this test may be the one that you need. But anyway, at the end of the day, just make sure you test that first before you get going, because that's going to be super important for what we're trying to do coming up on this backcountry adventure.
Yeah, and that should work. If the plane is able to tune and you're able to monitor that Morse code ID, that should work off of any non-directional beacon. So it doesn't have to be this one near Fayetteville. It could be anywhere in the country. So you can just check to make sure that your aircraft that you choose to fly has that feature. So that's going to be really important. And
And
I've been
that,
studying. Go ahead.
I was just saying that in and of itself, we've done one other flight that has involved a something similar to this, but nothing to this extent. Um, and if you were, I mean, is it fair to? Well, you know what? As we go through the different ones, we'll mention the one where you first started messing around with this idea a little bit.
Yeah,
But go
that's
ahead,
fine.
finish your thought though.
Well, so this sort of kind of came from the process that many of you know that I've been working on. Well, I everybody everybody has a love hate relationship with Carenado, right? And my my little trick, or I guess what I've kind of come to enjoy, is picking up the older Carenado aircraft when they're on sale, and then I've kind of taught myself, and I had some help from folks like Jeffrey and some different folks as far as learning how to retrofit or bring up to X plane 11 standards these older aircraft, and so the idea for this flight sort of sparked off of me rebuilding the Skymaster. I was going through kind of putting in the updated GPS on the Skymaster, and fixing some of the gauges that didn't work right. And one of the things on the Skymaster from Carenado that didn't work right, it has two ADF radios in it, and they were just ADF number one was coupled to both of the ADF cards on the instrument panels. It's like, well, that's not right. If you have two radios and you have two cards, they should, one should go to one and two should go to two. And so I ended up kind of messing around with that, and then as one thing leads to another, that particular radio in that plane is simulated as a King, a Bendix King. I think it's a KR87, Kilo Romeo 87 model, and I got to reading about that receiver, and it has all kinds of other functions like an elapsed time. It has a flight time. It basically has all of these stopwatch clock kind of features or functions in it, and that's what the other buttons are for on that radio. And so I was just reading about the radio, and that's where I learned about this beat frequency oscillator mode, which happens according to the literature. The non-directional beacons in the United States don't necessarily require that mode. So I don't know if there's something different about the transmitters in the United States where you don't have to know, your radio doesn't have to have the BFO mode. It just incorporates that. But outside the United States, evidently, in the real world, the BFO mode is still used to identify the stations. So that was sort of the incubator, that whole process and learning about those radios. That was sort of the incubator of this idea. And so there's another component, but I don't want to tell it right at the moment because
Yep.
it's
Yep.
probably too much. It's probably too much information.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And so, all right. So what I would like to do, and again, if you've got a favorite Bush League memory and you're just too shy, you don't want to come over to the voice channel, that's fine. Just drop it in the chat and let's enjoy kind of together walking back through memory lane as I go through. And by the way, all of these write-ups they exist. They're housed over at downwindsim.com. And the very first Bush League backcountry fly-in, as Downwind Sim alluded to, was in Idaho, but the genesis of it really occurred a little earlier than that. Obviously, we were here at Mountain Air, and that's where the whole plan sort of came together. But I can remember, I think the first time we were messing around with any of this type of flying was actually over in Papua New Guinea,
That's
and
right.
I was in
That's right.
I was in P3D. I mean, that's how long ago it was, and
The Kokoda Trail. Am I saying that right? The Kokoda
yeah.
Trail.
So
Okay.
so yeah, I mean, this we've like a lot of things, right? You don't really know a good idea at the in the moment, and then it maybe took Slant Alpha's coordination brain to put it all together. But anyway, you wrote an article about "Am I Lost?" is the title of it, and it hits on a lot of why this was so fun for you and I know for sure. I mean, we've mentioned it, and hasn't been we haven't been able to do it. Sorry about this. I got to adjust my headset here. We haven't been able to do it as much lately as we did at the beginning. But we would fly, you and I would fly just offline, and it was almost like a weekly thing where you would come on and you're like, hey, here's a scenery. Let's go see if we can find it. And we'd spawn in somewhere, whether it was Jackson's International in Papua New Guinea or Boise, Idaho, or whatever. We'd go up and we'd try to find it, and that was kind of what we enjoyed doing. And then you wrote this article about just how much fun that is. Always something to learn and explore. And you had mentioned we'd been messing around. Alaska was another area that we'd like to play around in, but yeah, I think that little write up there, "Am I Lost?" That was back on the 26th of August, 2019, and it's worth the look if you have a second. I think it just encapsulates the spirit of the Bush League backcountry fly-in. But anyway, we did go into Idaho, and we departed out of Boise, and we went up. And I remember you had found this area that was just rich with. I feel like we were kind of like gold miners, like rich with gold nuggets and in the form of backcountry strips. And you created a little adventure there that had Weatherby, Atlanta, Green Valley Retreat, and if time allows, South Fork and Graham. And we all loaded up in our Prop Strike 172 Bush mods and departed out of Boise and just had a heck of a fun time. Um,
And we ended up going to all of them. I was like, okay, that's probably enough. Does everybody want to stop? And they're like, no, let's keep flying.
oh man! And I think there was about probably 10 of us. I don't know how many there were, but at least half of us got lost within about the first 10 minutes of the flight. And then those of us who didn't get lost, I say those of us because I was one of the ones that got lost, ended up not successfully landing at our intended initial airstrip. So there also, I think the new tradition of bent airframe count, that's where that started, was there in the mountains of Idaho. But that was, I remember you talking about that idea, and that really was the idea of just kind of going up the river and there's a strip, there's a strip, there's a strip, and being able to actually create that. Hey, there is Al South.
His ears
Skull.
must have
Uh huh.
burning. Hey, Al South. Happy
But
Halloween to you, my friend.
but that idea, that concept of being able to create your own little world, even as an old man, that you see the world behind me, right? You see the junior first officers made this whole metropolitan area, and is living in his little world. But that still was something extremely appealing to me, and kind of kick-started my own journey of building bush trips. That's what I remember, what I take away from that first Bush League strip. How about you? What do you remember from that first Bush League backcountry
Well,
flying?
yeah, we had. I don't really know. Somebody, it was probably you or somebody, had kind of just made the mention about what a gold mine the Idaho area was, and before that, I really hadn't. I didn't even know all of that stuff really existed, and then evidently that's sort of like the mecca of the bush flying, at least here in the continental United States. And I thought, I was looking at the sectional, and I just thought, I wonder if I could leave Boise, like downtown Boise, Idaho, and try to go out and find one of these places without really getting lost. And that was sort of the incarnation. And Weatherby 52 uniform was really the first. That was sort of my experiment into making, yeah, making, yeah, Al South doing more. We'll get to that in a second. The That was really the beginning of the scenery creation stuff, and we ended up going out to Weatherby, and then we ended up just bopping around out there for a little while. And early on, even Al South joined me one time. I remember going down to, gosh, where was it? I'm looking at the sectional right now. We went here. I think we got to, I don't know, maybe South Fork or something like that. And anyway, Al South joined me early on. Like, hey, I'm going to leave this airport and we're going to go see if we could find, Upper Loon or he was, I think he was the first one to take a DC-3 into either Upper or Lower Loon. And the scenery wasn't all that great, but Al South parked that truck of an airplane in there and got it in. So that sort of became the beginning of all. That was all in the early days. We really didn't know what we sort of were doing or what we were creating per se. But those were great memories, and we still enjoy going back there. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's still there's probably at least 50 airstrips that we haven't been to back
Oh,
there.
at least,
Even though we've been there, at least 5 or 6 times over the course of the 2 years.
So then in November, well, I guess this would have been December, of 2019, we made our second one because we didn't know at the time. We're like, yeah, this sounds like a great idea for us, but are there any other Bush League type or Bush pilots? So is this going to be a thing? Is this going to be a hit? Well, it was enough of a hit that we did a second one, and we went up into British Columbia. We went international, and we went around. It was oh gosh, I'm gonna mess up the name of the lake here, but Chilco Lake, I think, and Sanaya Lake. Anyway, we found I think somebody who's become an awesome friend and asset, and my takeaway of Bush League series number 2 was the fact that we met our buddy LP Nils, and we totally have stolen and used his scenery many times ever since.
Yeah, and that was a situation where I think maybe you had found that on xplane.org and said, "Hey, let's check this out and see what this is like." And then I think you ended up dropping him a line, and he replied. And Nils is a great guy, lives over in Germany, and I think he was kind of flattered, like somebody would actually get in touch with him and say, "Thanks for all, thanks for using the stuff." And we've gotten to know him, and he's a giant of a man. I remember him sharing a photo. He works at
Oh,
an
good
airport. I
lord.
think he's an airport mechanic. And when he sits in a Cessna 152, he has to sit with a butt cheek on each seat, and put a foot on one rotor pedal on one side and the other foot on the rotor pedal on the other side of the plane. So he he shared a photo of us with us of that, and I'm like, good heavens. But anyway, super nice guy, and of course, yeah, you'll get to it. But we've visited a lot of sceneries that he has made, and really that what is it called? Brant the starts with an
Namaya.
N.
Namaya
Namaya
Valley.
Island, yeah. And speaking of Nemaya Valley, we actually met another good friend of our streams in the whole Bush League Backcountry Flying series, and that's Black Fox and Blue Fox.
That's right.
And
Yeah, that might have
and
been, yeah, when
yeah,
that friendship started.
and somebody had mentioned him, and he ended up popping on the stream, I think, in somebody's chat, and says, "Well, yeah, I work up there. I'm in search and rescue, and I'm very familiar with that area." So what a crazy thing that here's areas of our world that you know 6 months before that I didn't even know existed, and now I'm getting to know people that actually live there, work there, and this is their backyard. So that was really, 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 really neat.
Yeah, and it was yeah. LP has Nils has come on, even though it's when we do our backcountry fly-ins, it's 3 in the morning or something his time. He's flown a couple times with us, and he's also been a guest contributor of scenery, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we'll move on. We'll move on to in January of that year. We had actually our first sort of guest contributor, and most people, I don't think I think maybe they've forgotten, but we actually solicit and are open to ideas for these routes. And we had a friend, and I haven't talked to Coffee for a long time, Coffee Bassey, and he planned a really cool little flight around Mount Baker and Mount Rainier, and we hit some airports like Linden and oh gosh, Kendall,
Maresfield. Yep.
Mearsfield, Sky Harbor, Skycomish. I mean, some just iconic airstrips up there, and that was again like my takeaway from that was just how much fun it was to explore somebody's backyard, and all these little airports that they knew about, and they're like, hey, you got to come see this. This is a cool spot, and of course, boy, up there it's every bit as scenic as, well, I don't know, it's as scenic as any place you're going to find in the world. But that was my takeaway. There was just how much fun it was to explore somebody else's little hidden getaway.
Yeah. The Pacific Northwest is an absolutely beautiful spot, even when it's raining, which is most of the time. But it was that was awesome to wander around in that area, and that was really Melvin, was is it Williams Air Patch? Is that the one that was sitting on that river?
Uh, I
What
remember
was
Ranger Creek, but I don't remember Williams. But that it may have been. Oh yeah, no. You're right. You're right. We made one to replace the default one. Yeah, and uh, and yes, I think I know what you're going to say about this. So I'll let you finish the thought.
well, that was the beginning of the sandbar fever.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Which was, and another thing is, you found out who's the streamer on YouTube that that flies in real life and hits all those sandbars.
182 backcountry.
And you found out that
Mm-hmm.
he was in that area, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
just down the river from that. And
Mm-hmm.
and there's a video on YouTube of him bopping in and out of the same sandbars that we were on. So that
Yeah.
was that was pretty neat.
Yeah. You may if you watch him, he hits this one sandbar called Dogleg Sandbar, and it's just, and I know where it's at, and we've modeled it, but to land there he makes it look so easy. You literally are making a 90-degree turn coming around the river bend to a blind sandbar, and you got to get squared away and nice and stable and put it down there. It's not a long sandbar, but anyway, yeah, the backcountry 182 guy is a ton of fun. Al South has
And,
shared a video, by the way, of Mountain Air. Go ahead and check that out, you guys, if you have a second. Go ahead.
and meanwhile, the stall horn is screaming at you
Ah,
right as you're doing a doing
oh
a 90
yeah,
degree turn. We're just above stall speed.
oh yeah. He's got his Christmas tree is just lit up, and yeah, and he's only at about 50 feet anyway, maybe. And in a modified Cessna 182, he's not flying a Carbon Cub. I mean, he's flying a heavy, powerful airplane, but boy, oh boy, he really just does a great job with it. It's so much fun to watch. Um, all
Yeah,
right.
so that became the beginning of the sandbar
Oh
fever, I
man, oh
think.
man, and what a
And
great fever to catch.
yeah, so that was sort of the beginning of that. But that Pacific Northwest stuff was absolutely fantastic.
So again, if you have ideas for places to go, I mean, there's a million of them, and the one thing that flight did was, just again, just opened my eyes to how many different places there are, not only in the U.S., but I mean, you think about it, there's in every country there's going to be spots like this, and so anyway, that was a cool takeaway. So then we moved on. We went to February, and we went to a again kind of it was up back in, let's see, it was back up a little bit further east in around Cache Creek and Squamish, and so again back up into Canada. And I believe this was some more of LP Nils' scenery, but I'm not 100% sure. But Lillooet and Pemberton and was this the was yeah, this was the one where we also put a couple of places to land that weren't really airstrips.
Like Duffy Lake. I think
Mm-hmm.
this was. I think
Yes, indeed.
this might have been the beginning of the food truck as
Yes, it
well.
was. It was. We parked the food truck next to a basically it was a like a gravel road that we looked at and said you could probably land there in real life. And after trying it maybe 20 times each, I think we finally were able to plunk it down there. But then our friend Northwest Ornaments, he brought in this DC3. I don't know how successful he was, but um, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, and that again is just another. You heard me say it already, but 6 months before that, I did not have any idea that area even existed. And then we're flying around and in the sim, and I'm thinking, man, it'd be great to vacation up here or come
Mm.
visit this at some point. Just an absolutely beautiful, spectacular place.
And then speaking of Northwest Ornaments, or some of you may know him as Northwest Orienter Will, he actually took the lead on our March 2020. This was backcountry flight number 5, and I think this ranks up as one of the most challenging, at least from a navigational standpoint, one of the most challenging Bush League flights we have. He took us up into, well, honestly, not too far away from where we are right now, up in Northern Virginia and the Roanoke area, and boy oh boy did he come up with a wonderful plan to fly down those mountains and hit places like Ayers and Skybridge and Frank Field. And yeah, that was a super challenging group of airstrips to try to locate, though.
That was a weird phenomenon for me because I didn't think it would be that difficult because there's you know cities and roads and all this stuff everywhere, and you get up to 3 or 4 thousand feet and it all looks the same. And a lot of these little airstrips are just somebody's back pasture with the fences cut down, and it looks like the next guy's field. And that really, I totally agree with you. It became very difficult to find these places, like, without, in the spirit of the Bush League flights, and not using a GPS and just looking at a sectional and trying to identify where you were. These were very difficult to find. And I'll be honest with you, Melvin, some of the airports, I don't know if I would have found them unless I saw other planes already sitting on the field
Mm.
via VATSIM, and I saw their beacon down there, and I'm like, oh, it must be over there. And which is sort of crazy because you and I made those airstrips, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like we knew where they were, but trying to fly to them was a whole nother thing. And just to drop a little hint about what we're going to do on Monday, we will probably run into a similar thing.
Yeah, 100%. That was the thing that struck me and I've not flown the entire route, but I've tried to just make sure spawn in at every airport to make sure that everything is working correctly, and that when you zoom up and get above the field 500 feet or 1,000 feet, it all starts to blend in, and you're like, is that rectangular field where the airport is? Is that or is it that one, or is it that next to that river, or is it next to that river, or yeah, it's so it'll be another challenging navigational night, but that'll make it just that much more enjoyable when you're able to find the airstrips. And by the way, you talked a little bit early about the fact that it's not really set up for Microsoft Flight Sim. I have checked the airfields in Microsoft Flight Sim, and for the most part, they all look really good and are very recognizable. But there are two that are not. I mean, they are very. I don't want to say camouflage, but they blend in extremely well, and so um, there'll be a couple that are really going to be extra challenging for you if you're flying this thing in Microsoft Flight Sim. But everything is there, everything looks great, and you will for sure enjoy the flight, even if that's your sim of choice.
Excellent. Well, thank you for checking on that, and I am working on uh, the other accommodations that I'm making for people that don't have X-Plane or aren't able to
Oh,
use that.
gotcha,
So,
gotcha. All right, well then on flight number 6, that would be in April of 2020, we ventured for the first time down to the Canyonlands in southern Utah and messed around in an area that was not necessarily mountainous, but had some pretty challenging places to try to land.
so this is centered around Hanksville. Is that
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Hanksville Airport. And this was another beginning of a thing that you and I kind of came to find out that within one latitude and longitude, from
Mm-hmm.
one scenery tile essentially, there was just a gold mine of little airstrips buried in just this one scenery tile, and
Yeah.
that sort of became your boundary and sort of the beginning of what this flight became. That was really fun, and again, um, and I've been out to Utah, and I know how beautiful and spectacular it is. But the one that still takes my breath away is a place called Hidden Splendor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's named that for a reason. I'm sure it looked fantastic in the sim, and I'm sure in real life it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. You drop in over like a little. There's a well, it's a bunch of slot canyons, but you find a little notch in one, and you drop over the top, and all of a sudden it opens up, and there's this little airstrip that's tucked in, and it's a one way in, one way out. Super challenging. We we planted a bent airframe, a 514 Delta Victor bent airframe at the bottom of it. I remember, and not that Slant Alpha crashed there necessarily, but we did enough times that we felt like it was appropriate, and that was kind of like we'd been having some fun with the food truck, and we started seeing more and more of those little Easter eggs that came in, and that was another one of them.
Yeah, I think our friend Rob got a kick out of that. I don't know if he crashed there or not that night.
No, I think he was smooth as butter, and just
Yeah,
because of that, although I think we did tell him, hey, make sure you look around a little bit before you leave, and yeah, and then he found that, and he did get a kick out of it.
and I think that was the trip that as well that we had a surprise visit from Diana, right?
We
And
did it.
didn't she fly
I
after Bravo
forgot
7?
about that. Yeah, she
Didn't
came
she fly a
in.
757 into Hanksville?
Yes. Well, and then not only that, but Dave from 757 Spy Channel, he flew the event
Yes.
the next day, and he still talks about one of the airstrips that he wasn't able to find. He still has nightmares about that, and he's never been back since. Even though I invite him every month, but he
Uh,
promotes it on his channel, which is kind of cool.
yeah, absolutely.
So
So that
then
was a lot of fun.
So then in May of that year, in Bush League Backcountry Fly-In number 7, we went back up again into Canada, and again I think we leaned on LP Nils a little bit. We went up in the Williams Lake area, and we actually had, this is the first time we kind of split things up. We had an east route and a west route. I don't know if you remember this, but we were having enough people that we were sort of getting stacked up a little bit, and we were wondering how to kind of make the event flow a little better. And anyway, that was I think pretty successful. I think I don't remember how we split them up exactly, but we had, everybody was able to fly kind of a different route, and it spread out, and there were less holds and delays, and anyway, it worked pretty well. I think we might have tossed a couple of sceneries in there also. I don't remember 100%, but didn't we finished at a place? We all finished at a place called Gun Lake, and I can remember like coming into Gun Lake. It was late,
It's
like I
getting dark.
and
Yeah,
I think I was almost out of fuel. I'd have to go back and watch my stream, but that's kind of what sticks in my mind from that event.
that sounds right. I remember you flying around and flying around. Okay, boys, I think we're here. And
I
then
was
it's like,
I was
nope,
so
that's not
lost.
it.
I was so lost.
And again, that's another area that is just absolutely beautiful, absolutely, and lots of outdoorsmen visit the area for hunting
Hmm.
or fishing or floating down the rivers and things like that. Just a spectacular area. So that was a yeah. We gave everybody an option to, like, you could pick which way you wanted to go, and that sort of spread the group out enough that
Hmm.
you didn't spend 20 minutes in a hold waiting to get into the traffic pattern. So that worked out well.
The next month was again another one that I think ranks up really high on everyone's list. That was our first visit, our first exploration of the San Juan Islands up there, tucked between Seattle and Vancouver. And our friend Wookie 042 put together this amazing package of, gosh, I don't know, 17, 18, 20, I don't even know, just a bunch of little airstrips. And again, how cool is it to have somebody that finds something like that and just shares it with the community, just for the love of aviation.
Yeah, he had made I mean, I don't know how many airstrips, but the San Juan Islands are located in the northwest, so the Pacific Northwest, just off the coast of like Seattle in that area. And there's just all these little islands, and they all have obviously boats that go back and forth, but most of them have little airstrips on them. And Wookie did a great job of creating
Hmm.
not only the airstrips, but also a lot of Easter eggs. And in fact, I think there's still some of us that have
Yeah.
done the group flights that are still looking for like some circus or the whales or
Yes.
there's a lot of stuff in there that we have still yet to find it all.
So Bush League Fly-In #9 was a reboot. We went back to the Canyonlands, and basically we're what happens with a lot of our backcountry fly-ins is we don't necessarily, well, the number of airstrips have kind of continually grown with each event, and it got to the point where we weren't able to really get to everything in a reasonable time. I mean, it's a Monday night after all, and some of us have to work, so we can't stay up until all hours trying to find Angel Point or whatever. So we went back. It was the first time we'd done that. We went back to Hanksville, tossed a couple new fields out there just to spice it up, but I thought that was a really good idea to be able to. I mean, the whole point of us sharing these and and keeping them on downwindsim.com is for you to go back and enjoy them later on, not necessarily as a part of a formal bush league event, but just because you enjoy flying out there, and it's a it gives you another place to fly when you're looking for ideas.
And most of you don't know, but when Melvin made Mineral Canyon, that's UT 75, in his original scenery creation process, I think he created about a 1,500-foot sign that grew out of the airstrip,
Uh,
right out of the canyon, so you can see the
uh,
location of that airstrip initially from at least 50. 50 miles away.
Oh
And
man, yes.
I remember helping you with that. It's like let's make the scale a little bit more realistic. I don't think that sign is 500 meters high. It's maybe 3.
It was
But
my first custom scenery object that I made from scratch, and well, had quite a bit of help, obviously, but that was a lot of fun. But
yeah,
yes,
we did.
that was a
Yeah,
laugh out loud moment for sure.
absolutely. Mineral Canyon, again, another beautiful spot. And then you continued on to Caveman Ranch, which was even more toward Utah. So you just get into the canyon,
Mm-hmm.
keep going, and
Mm-hmm.
there's all these little airstrips that are just scattered over the desert scape.
And that's a different guy. Now his name escapes Gravity Night Flying, and Gravity Night Flying was a guy that he was the one that sort of I watched his YouTube video and he landed at one of those places and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And then when I got there, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're all over the place. And so yeah, Rob is reporting everything is installing now, which is awesome. Super awesome. All right, I want to go on to Bush League number 10 here, and we're going to go back to so we had over the years we've had some awesome guest scenery creators, I guess. Obviously, you know, I talk a lot about the work you've done on this, and I would say it's probably not overstating it that you've done at least 80% of the scenery that's had to be created, if not a little bit more. But the other people that have helped us out, you know, LP Nils and Wookie. But people forget Steve PHL is a guy that is a pretty talented scenery guy and has a nice feel for how to make a good looking bush trip. But anyway, on Bush League Backcountry Fly-In Part 10, we did it on August 1st, and we called it the potluck, and we just like the entire event just had one scenery from each of these developers, and then for dessert, our friend of the channel Vertical Sim threw in a scenery, and I think we raffled that away or something. I can't remember 100%, but anyway, that was a really fun event as well.
It's a great community of people that not only love aviation but also enjoy aviation through using a simulator. And all of these guys, Wookie, Mills, Steve PHL, even Vertical Sim, and others have contributed. This is by no means not the Melvin and Downwind Sim show. This we've met a lot of great people, and they've all been super fantastic to share their time and their talents and their knowledge to the whole process. So it's been great.
Yeah, and I second that. Pretty crazy the amount of stuff that people will just share. Again, I've said it already, for the love of aviation and the spirit of community. The 11th fly-in that year, the second to last one for that year, actually we bump it back because Labor Day is a holiday in the U.S. So we went. It was a September. I think it was the 8th of September, is a Tuesday instead of a Monday. But this, in my mind, was, I think, leading up to tonight. It might be my favorite one. This was the sandbar opportunity there again in a place that you would never expect there to be bush league, flying opportunities. But we're flying down the Arkansas River, it starts in Kansas and it goes through Oklahoma, and it's some of the best bush flying that we've ever done. And holy moly, it was fantastic, fantastic. Some of your best work, my friend.
Thank you. And this was inspired again by Gravity Night flying, right? Because
Yeah.
he did this trip in real life, and you saw it and shared it with me, and we talked about it a little bit, and I'm like, oh, I think we could actually do that in the simulator.
So
And go ahead.
I was going to say, so for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, basically what Downwind Sim did is he went into to JOSM, and he made sure that like 70 miles of river bed was properly defined so that these sandbars were exposed correctly, and then he took it down into, there's a lake down there. I can't remember the name of the lake. I'm trying to look here, but did the same thing around the lake, Kaw Lake, and then, as if 26 bush landing opportunities weren't enough, he went ahead and threw in another scenery so we could all end at Thomas Landing, and probably the one thing about this that I'll also take with me is just how diabolical the puzzle was, and I think that was created by your wife, and she was having some fun with this. I think in that puzzle.
It was my wife and her. She is a good friend, and they love to play games. And anyway, they they actually helped me with this, and I said, "Here's the deal. I have this many little sandbars to land on, and I need to come up with some kind of puzzle game." And of course, their eyes lit up and were like, and I just turned them loose, and it was actually their brainchild to uh, to create the puzzle of all puzzles. And I think Jeffrey, it's either Jeffrey and or Rob, Slant Alpha Adventures came. They came really close to solving it. I'm not sure if
Mm-hmm.
anyone has actually solved it like completely. But what's funny is if you know me, you know that I hate word puzzles and I'm horrible at them. I'm like, if I play Wheel of Fortune, I see a bunch of letters. I do not see the answer. And so anyway, but other folks do, and anyway, they helped me create the puzzle, and it's a difficult one. So if you haven't flown that one, download that and go see if you can figure it out. And if you think you solved the puzzle, let me know.
Yeah, I have all of the I have all of the letters, but I have no idea what the puzzle means. All right, well then, wrapping up the first year for us, we had another guest coordinator, I guess, and speaking of Slant Alpha Adventures, our friend Rob Shearman was the guy that put together a route again up in the Kodiak area, and we again. It sounds like a broken record here, but we grabbed a hold of some LP Nils scenery. I think this is when he first released his Kodiak Island package, but we did a little adventure up there, starting at Kodiak Airport, and basically just circling the island, I think counterclockwise, and we hit a bunch of different little spots, Port Lions and Larson's Bay and Old Harbor and all that good stuff. But that was put together by Slant Alpha, and then of course greatly supported by the work of LP Nils.
And he's updated that several times since we first
Mm-hmm.
went there. That scenery package, and that's available on the .org. And again, if you don't have that in your sim, you definitely need to pick that up because it's absolutely fantastic. There's so many things to find. We've been up there, Melvin, what, probably at least 10 times, and there's still stuff that we haven't seen. So absolutely fantastic. Um, looks like he had to take care of something real quick, but that's just an awesome place. Kodiak Island was again just a place that I had no idea even existed, and yet now we've been back there several times. And just even exploring the island, you can circle the island in 2 hours in a Cessna 172. Even faster if you fly in something faster. But there's all kinds of places, little cabins, whales off the coast, um, sandbars and bears and people camping, just loaded with little Easter egg things to find. And I've really enjoyed even going up there and finding or flying that area in a helicopter. There's a lot of if you like to fly helicopters, there's a lot of like little helipads that might be a boat dock anchored at a lake, or um, something perched on the side of a cliff or something like that, but just all kinds of places to uh, find, explore, see, learn about. I see you're back. Welcome back. But I don't hear Brant. I don't hear you on the Discord anymore. Did you mute?
Test one, two. There I am.
There,
Sorry about that.
there you go.
I was needed off the camera, as they say, and so I appreciate you filling in there. I'm just about. I tell you what, this is working out better than I ever could have planned. I'm just about halfway to Mountain Air, and here we are through the end of year one. As you can see, coming up, you can see what makes Mountain Air such a neat little spot. This is the Appalachian. I don't remember what mountain range specifically this is, but the Roanoke Mountains or something like that. I don't know the area very well, but other than flying it a few times. But you're gonna it's we've got the benefit. We're going direct with GPS, but trying to find this place in real life or live time and
It
live
still
weather
get
with,
turned around.
oh Lord. Anyway, it'll be a lot of fun. So anyway, Rob Valkyrie, appreciate the comment there, man, and Al South, exactly. You're 100% right. It's been a lot of hours spent by our friend Dalwin Sim, and a lot of things that he has done behind the scenes that I hope everybody is appreciative of, and I hope I can kind of again convey just how much fun it's been to watch him, the mad scientist, in his laboratory creating things. And again, guys, I don't want to give anything more away, but what he's created this month for the X-plane person is going to be, we haven't done it before, and so it's I think that part of it, like I'm looking forward to this more than any other Bush League backcountry fly-in so far. So let's jump
just
in.
just to see if it works.
Well, isn't that part of it anyway? I mean,
Well, it
uh,
is. It is.
can
Yeah.
I start the airplane? Can I take off without ground looping? Can I keep it out of the trees on land? All those things. That's part
And
of
then,
it.
oh
But
my gosh, I'm completely lost. Now where do I go? Right?
yeah. So speaking of mountain air, our very first flight of year two, which was back in November, this time last year, essentially, we returned to Mountain Air and flew around. We found, it looks like 5 or 6 fields: Shiflet Field and Fox Haven and Brevard and Wheatfield, which is a great name for an airstrip, and six oaks. And so we already have a little bit of history up here as far as this area and having some airstrips available to us. I don't know if people remember that, but kind of what we're doing this month should, like with a lot of things, like what we did up at in the Nemaya Valley and in Canyonlands and in Idaho and in Alaska. What we've tried to do is we've tried to take a group of scenery that we create and then just expand on it. And the next time we come in, we do, maybe it's a different event, but that just gives you, this that many more airstrips in the same area that you can come back and revisit. And anyway, that I remember, again, extremely challenging location in terms of trying to find airstrips because it's such a patchwork quilt from the sky.
Agreed.
And yeah.
Absolutely agree. And that was the first trip. And to be honest with you, I remember it was sort of set up like a round robin. So we left Mountain Air, if I
Mhm.
remember right. We
Mhm.
left Mountain Air and kind of went out toward the east and then circled around south of Asheville and came back in from toward Asheville from the south. And then the goal was is to depart the Asheville area and head back up to Mountain Air. And Melvin, I left Asheville and I wandered I wandered around up there in those mountains for a good 20 minutes, absolutely having no idea which way was up, down, left, right. I was like, I have no idea.
I think I had the same experience, and I think I underestimated. I'm like, I'm just the hardest part's going to be finding all these other little strips. It'll be a piece of cake to make it back to Mountain Air, and it was not. It
It
was
was not.
definitely not. um, Al South is bringing up another cool story: the impromptu group flying formation. Oh yeah, that was. It wasn't a bush league event. We just kind of got together, right? We made the diamond formation
That was
landing.
Kentucky Lake.
Kentucky
Yeah.
Lake, yeah, that was.
You were doing your nowhere
That's
fushies
what it
out
was.
east. Yeah, and
That's
we
what it
all jumped
was.
in fuzzy pants and ended up doing a formation landing. Yeah, that was fun.
And it was pretty good. I mean, with all the challenges of, you know, I think we were in Microsoft Flight Sim at the time, so the VAT Sim delay wasn't as bad. But all the challenges of trying to coordinate something like that, we pulled it off pretty well. I think it was a lot of fun. So
And I don't think any of us crashed either.
no, no. So for our December Bush League, it was number 14 last year. We jumped over and visited the Hawaiian Islands and did a really cool. It was kind of a Bush League fly-in slash tribute to the December 7th attack on Pearl Harbor. Those of you again, if you're from the United States, that's an infamous day. Obviously, well, worldwide, I think people know Pearl Harbor and what it led to. But I like what we were able to do there and fly around and hit a lot of the different airports that were in the general vicinity. But then you made a really nice rendition there of the Pearl Harbor area, and in
Ford
particular,
Field.
yeah, Ford
Ford
Field,
Field
which
there.
was
Yeah.
awesome. You put some aircraft carriers and things like that in there, so I can remember coming in there and making a pretty good landing at Ford Field, but I was super impressed with the work you did in terms of because that for people that don't know, that field's no longer in use. I mean, it's not something that, like, I don't know if they just like shut it down after the war or exactly what, but like there's still, like, from Google Earth you can still see bomb craters and stuff sort of in the area. But anyway, really a neat piece of scenery that you created there.
Well, thanks. And we started in Kauai, which is
Yeah.
the island to the northwest of Oahu, and we sort of circled Kauai in a in a counterclockwise fashion, and that was fun. There's observatories out there. There's a place right out on the western shore called Barking Sands,
Mm.
and there's all. If you look at the chart, there's all of these markings that say, "Don't fly here unless you want to be radiated by by all of these radios that sit there and point to the west." I guess for national security,
Mm-hmm.
and so we circled that and learned about that. And then there's observatories up there on the island, up in the kind of the mountainous regions, and we even ended up landing at a drag strip. There's a drag strip on
That
Kauai,
was awesome.
if you remember that. But again, just another little Easter egg or two scattered in there, and that's been a lot of fun to create and build.
We had a stole. I think I had a stole race with somebody and I lost. I think, but probably was
That's right.
jet
That's right.
pilot Cinnamon, and he got his plane in the air before I was able to. But yeah, that was awesome. That was great. The airstrip that was up by the observatory was unbelievably challenging to land, and I think I had the wrong aircraft. I don't know what I had, but the plane I had was not built to stop in that little patch of dirt there. But yeah, that was a ton of fun. So
And there's helipads hidden
oh
on
yeah, that's
on
right.
that island too. And so if you're a helicopter flyer, you might want to check that out.
Um, and by the way, some of these scenery links, I know over time have been moved or changed or whatever. If you go to one of these articles and it's the scenery is interesting to you and the links are dead, just let us know and we've got all the scenery here and there and everywhere, but only so much room on the Google Drive to save stuff, and so we have to kind of archive a little bit here and there. But But anyway, just let us know, and we're happy to provide you with whatever you're looking for. So let's see. Then we moved on, and we went back to Alaska, and we went back to LP Nils, and we grabbed some scenery there. There's an Alsic River scenery pack. Again, it was a new release, a fairly new release, and I think this one is maybe another one that's closely tied to what we have planned for this month. If you remember
This
what
is
you did
number.
there at Yakutuk, this
Yeah,
was
this is
number
number 15.
15. Yep.
Okay, yeah, yep. And we had some. Nils again created a scenery pack that was just awesome to explore, and there was a lot of stuff around there. And of course, Alaska is known for its glaciers and just wide open spaces in that. And there's a one scenery element in there that's called Yakutuk Glacier Camps. And I don't know how many of your viewers got to participate in that, but there's an Easter egg or two in there, and without going into a lot of details, you can kind of you could maybe go back to that and explore that.
Yep.
And so that was sort of the brainchild of what we're going to be doing this month. I just kind of it's sort of the same technology. Let me just say that, but
Yeah.
just a different implementation.
Yeah, that'll be a good one to go back and read through the notes and kind of remember what you did. What I remember on that one is departing the final field of the day, heading back to Yakutuk, and I was in the Beaver, and it
And
was,
everybody had bets on whether or
uh
not you would make it.
huh, and I did, by the way. It wasn't the prettiest landing because I don't think I had any fuel for a go around, but I
Well,
managed to
that's
get her
because you
back.
glided down from 5,000 feet.
That's right. I had plenty of altitude just in case.
It was fun.
Oh man! So then we went
I,
back. Well, go ahead.
I was betting against you, by the way.
Well, I don't think anybody was. I think I was the only one that said, "Ah, we're good. We're good. I know this. I know this plane, honey."
Yes, right. That's right. All right, go
um,
ahead.
so number 17 in March of 21 was back into Idaho, and you took us back to the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness Area, which you gotta love that title. That's a perfect bush hooligan title, and some really wonderful. Again, really wonderful airfields. Steve PHL kicked in Pistol Creek Ranch one. There's I think you modified the forest overlay to look a little bit better, and then tossed in 12 published airstrips, and even a couple others that weren't published. And again, I think that the thing I take from that is my first realization that I might have skipped one here. Hold the phone here. Did I skip 16? I
You
think I
did. 16
oh
was a revisit.
revisit of San Juan. Okay, yeah. So sorry, don't mean to shortchange that. In fact, I'll put the link here just in case. Yeah, but 17 was the first one where I realized. I think you and I both realized how much like off the grid stuff there is in bush flying, was this the one where we discovered the sectional, like the one airport was like the owner had declared that it was an airport, and that's why it was on the sectional or something. I'm trying to remember exactly how that shook out.
Yeah, and then it sort of really wasn't there.
Yeah,
like I have an airport here, and it's like, no, you don't. Yes, I do. It's one of those back and forth kind of things.
yeah. It was funny
Uh,
though. It was almost like the guy just like called it, like I called dibs or shotgun or this is an airport, and so please put it onto your FAA sectional.
right, right. And was this the one? Pistol Creek. I'm wondering. It was this Soldier Mountain,
That sounds right. That
Little
sounds.
Soldier Mountain.
I'm looking right now to see if I can't. I don't remember. I don't. That sounds. That does sound. You put a heliport next to Garden Valley, and Yeah, there was Soldier Mountain, right? That's where the fire observatory or thing or whatever
Yeah,
was.
yeah, the lookout tower.
Yeah, so you had to fly clear up to the top of the mountain, and there's this little ridge line, and yeah, really another
Yeah, but
incredibly challenging airstrip.
I know besides you, I know of one other person that found that.
Yeah.
So if you haven't, if you don't, when I say Little Soldier Mountain, if you don't know what that is, then you
Hmm.
haven't been there yet.
Yeah,
And
and
that's all I'll say about that.
and the I'm gonna say it, and I hope I don't give anything away for this month, but it's important that you read the banners because the banners have information on them, like the sandbar one, right? That's where all the puzzle clues were hidden, were on the banners, and so it's
Yes,
important that
yes.
you read the banners, and not only will they verify where you're at so you know that you found the right spot, but they'll oftentimes have other information that'll help you. And that was definitely one of them. And yeah, that's what I will say about that. So for the for the April fly-in, which was number 18, we went back into Utah and a little south of the Canyonlands. We went down there towards. Was this Monument Valley that's down there? Is that I'm trying to remember the
Yeah, I think Lake Powell
yeah,
and Monument Valley and all that. Yep.
yeah.
Again, another place. This was same thing like Hanksville. It's one ortho tile, one degree of
Mhm.
latitude by 1 degree of longitude. And I remember you and I working on that stuff, and you kept finding airstrips. It's like, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one.
Yeah.
And I flew. I remember flying that event, and I basically went to like a quarter of the airstrips
Mhm.
that we had, and ran out of time. I mean, there's still more to see there,
Mhm.
for me, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one we'll revisit at some point. That was also the first one that I experienced, and I actually flew it in Microsoft Flight Sim
That's right.
because the all of the airstrips that we built in X-Plane were there as well in Microsoft Flight Sim, and they look a little different, obviously, but I wanted to really give it a test and see exactly. They're there because of the ortho programmetry, and so you see them, but like, are they really there? Can you land on them? How do they look? And what I found was kind of interesting. A lot of them really were pretty good. I mean, they looked good, and when you landed on them, they had short grass that was realistic, and but some of them had some things that were kind of quirky. Like there were, we would call them like ortho tile, maybe edge tile irregularities or something, where like part of the part of the scenery would be a little higher than the other part, and so if you that and some of that sometimes those happened right in the middle of the runway, and so if you ran across one of those, it simulated a crash, and so it was interesting and kind of fun and neat to see like what exists natively in Microsoft Flight Sim regarding bush strips. And I think what I found was that while there is a lot of them that are there to make a good bush trip in Microsoft Flight Sim, you also need to spend some time working on the scenery and making sure everything looks right, kind of like we do with X-Plane. But yeah, it was interesting.
And that was I remember the only benefit to that was I got a copy of Uncle Melvin's magical map with the coffee stain on it that gave us a little bit of a clue to
uh,
where on earth we were going.
yeah, because the majority of those fields are uncharted, and that was the first event that we didn't give necessarily like specific airports as the download, so that like if you crashed you had to respawn back at like the start of one of those. There were I think 3 airports where you could start, and so that put a little more pressure on trying to pull off those landings, because if you crashed you had to go back and fly back in. So yeah, that was kind of a cool twist as
Yeah,
well.
and that was also the start of that inspired me to make a collidable tree on the X-plane side. Do
That
you
is
remember
right.
that?
That is right. And
Oh,
so they're there. They exist, by the way, in downwind sim scenery. So be careful. Not all trees are created equally.
fly through. That's right. That's right.
I sure hope I don't ice up here. I'm getting into some nasty McNastiness. Well, while I'm flying into this, let me point out something else that I think is important for Bush League interested people. If you've never flown in one, is we suggest real time, real weather, but it's by no means required. And if you want it to be forced VFR, or if you want it to be a different time of day, or whatever, you're welcome to do that. As Downwind Sim has said many times, flight simming means different things to different people, and so if you don't want that element of weather as a part of your flight, you don't have to have it. And in some cases, like it's actually necessary for us to change the weather, because we've flown in events in parts of the world where, like, if it was real life, we wouldn't be flying, and so we don't have the luxury of that. If we host it on the first Monday, obviously we have to fly it that Monday, and so we want weather to be a part of it, but we don't want it to be something that prohibits you from making it into your airstrips.
And our good friend Ralph Valkyrie has asked the $1,000,000 question in the chat.
The answer to that, Rob, is no. Kind of. Kind of. So
More to come.
yeah, you will learn the location of those airstrips in time, my friend. All right, we'll jump to number 19 as we're getting close to the end of our second year here. But we again, as you've seen, a common theme. We're back in an area that we visited before. We're back in the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness again, and again, Downwind Sim has added another, I don't know, dozen or so airstrips, and this was cool. I like this, you know, I like this particular flying because it's right there. I think most people would recognize Johnson Creek 3 Uniform 2 as like one of the meccas of flight sim. Like everybody who says they're a bush pilot has to go to Johnson Creek at least once, to kind of get that little badge or whatever. But this one was cool because of all of those spots around Johnson Creek, including, I know this is Rob's favorite strip, Dewey Moore. And I remember Dewey Moore claimed my airplane on that day.
And this is where Al South discovered the Pilatus PC6 and the flying motor, because if you take anything in there that's on the edge of not having enough power, you're not going to make it back out of there. And Dewey Moore, and another place called just down, not too far from there, in a wash called Monumental Creek. There's an airstrip called Simmons, named after a family that homesteaded in there, and that one's almost as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Almost as bad, and they're within what? They're within 5 miles of each other.
Yeah. Yep. And I think they're both one way in, one way out airstrips, and yeah,
Yeah,
supremely.
and not on the chart.
Yep, supremely challenging, and just good fun all the way around. We moved back to Alaska in June of that year, this past year, for fly-in number 20, and we did a little cargo themed event, and we thought kind of it'd be fun if everybody could try to do something like maybe a little bigger. I think some of the fly-ins had started to become, the aircraft had become smaller and smaller, and everybody was flying Kit Foxes and thinking they're Trent Palmer and all that. And so we challenged in number 20, we challenged folks to get in the DC-3 and try to make it over, through, or around the Talkeetna Mountains. And didn't have a whole lot of airstrips here, but I think we had 4 or 5 was all. But The route was the challenge, not necessarily the airstrips. Although at the end of the day, the weather is what ended up kicking my butt.
Yeah, we took off from the Talkeetna area and flew over. The goal was to jump Denali National Park, that ridge of where Mount Denali's at. And I remember flying, thinking I had a pass over it, and the terrain came up to meet the clouds. And so I ended up doing a 180-degree turn in this valley and going back out and having to fly, I don't know, 20 miles north to figure out the next way over. And that became a real navigational challenge for me. And I think, Melvin, if I remember right, didn't you buy the farm at the end of that?
Not once, but twice. That's the
Okay.
only bush league event I believe that I recall that I actually had two crashes. I crashed once going out, and I crashed once coming back in. So I did not find a safe route either to the north or to the south of Denali on that particular day.
and and the weather was not our friend, which is really true to life and what Alaska's like.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So then we didn't go too far. We stayed in Alaska for another sort of bush charter event there in July, and you created a bunch of scenery there that was. I think we started at Valdez and we went up the Alaskan Pipeline Highway, that Richardson Highway, and that was. I'm trying to remember. There was one. Oh, I don't remember what the name of the airfield was. It was named after the Jake's Bar. Is that what I'm thinking of? Jake's Bar.
It's Jake's Bar, yep, Jake's Bar, and it's in the Wrangell St. Elias National Park, which is on the eastern side of Alaska. And Wrangell St. Elias, as far as national parks go, is just absolutely huge. But it's not visited nearly as much as Denali National Park, in the highest peak in the United States. But it's just as spectacular, and it's even more remote because
Mm-hmm.
there's like a road that runs up in there, and Jake's Bar is sort of at the end of the line. And the big fun of that one was stop by the cabin and Jake's sitting at the picnic table and continue the story from there.
Yeah, yeah. So that's another theme that you might take into tomorrow's event is that if you look around the airstrips, you look around the scenery a little bit. A lot of times you'll find some Easter eggs that will take you on other adventures, and this one was one I think that ended up taking you up a glacier or something to rescue a downed airplane or something like that. But there are things like that in almost every bush league backcountry fly-in, and that's why going back to revisit them is so much fun because if you just take some time and look around, you'll be, I think, pleasantly surprised at what you see in the extended sort of adventures that await. I think you and I have spent way too much time playing video games that have those hidden rooms. Like if you knock down the door, you have a different whole different game or something that you get to play. But anyway, yeah. Uh,
That's right. It's the game. It's the game within the game.
all right, moving on because I'm about 30 miles out. I'm gonna have to start thinking about the approach here, which I'll just fly if we are still talking. That's not a problem. But in
5,000 feet pattern altitude. Just FYI.
5,000, okay. So I'll start to descend here in a little bit. But in fact, maybe I'll start my way down right now. Okay, so let's go here. And vertical speed mode, and we'll spin that down. Oops, down. 500 feet a minute will be okay. Pull the power back a little bit. All right, so then August, Bush League fly-in number 22. I think the second
It's
to
significant
last
again.
one. Yeah, I took you into Wyoming, and we had another YouTube pilot that I follow, Matt Guthmiller, who was the youngest guy to ever fly around the world. That's kind of how he's known and has a good YouTube channel. I really enjoy. He's a good, young, talented pilot, but he's moved to Wyoming, and it's a fly-in community called Alpine Lake. And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to fly Alpine Lake, and then there's a little spot, the very first bush league strip or bush strip I ever made called Kinky Creek, up at the top of the Wind River Mountains, and heck, I don't remember exactly where we ended up there. I think we went to Du Bois and Jackson Hole or something. It wasn't exactly like none of the airstrips were super challenging, but again, it was one of those terrain deals. Like depending on the weather, you can get through some places and sometimes not. You have to kind of go around, and it might be add 100 miles to your trip and that kind of thing. But I've got a great sort of offshoot story from that flight that I'll share after I get your thoughts there, Downwind Sim.
Yeah, Wyoming's one of those places that I think you had the advantage because all of us, us Midwesterners and other people who are not from Wyoming, um, it was very easy to get lost.
Well, it is a place. It's pretty sparsely populated and not a lot of roads, and so yeah, you're trying to find places like Bacon Ridge and that kind of stuff, Dunor Valley, and but the thing that was this was a spin-off conversation. So somebody, I think it might have been Josh McCreary, noticed that there was what looked like to be an airstrip a little bit north of the town of Du Bois, which I think was our third stop, and it
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
it.
you did
Yeah,
a little history on that, didn't you?
yeah. So it wasn't the airport. There's a little small municipal airport there, but it wasn't that. And so I asked some people about it. I know a gal that lives there, and I asked her about it. I said, "Hey, what was that exactly, or what is that exactly? Is it was it the original town airport or what?" And she said, "No, it's nothing actually. It's they in the summertime they have like a little celebration, a town celebration, and they do chariot races there. So they hook a horse up to a legit chariot and they race. And so it does. If you look at it from the map, it looks like an airstrip, but it's not. It's chariot races. But she mentioned something kind of in passing that caught my eye. She said, "Well, I wonder if he was talking about the German POW airstrip." And I'm like, "The what?" And and
It
so
just keeps getting better.
yeah, so sure enough, so I knew like Wyoming has sort of an infamous past as far as World War II prisoners of war. Many of you may know that Japanese Americans were interned in prison camps essentially during World War II, and Wyoming had one of them up in Heart Mountain, which is not too far away from where I live. So I knew about that. But what I didn't know was that there was also a German prisoner of war camp, and it's right there in the Du Bois area. It's up in the mountains a little ways north. And anyway, to make a long story short, I mean, I've lived here my whole life, and I'd never heard of that. And so I did some digging and really some cool history. If you look up Camp Du Bois, you can get some more backstory. But what I thought was kind of cool was two things. Number one, most of the prisoners came back and settled in the area, and because they enjoyed the area so much, and I think were treated fairly well. I mean, this was not a chained barbed wire fence situation because they basically plopped them in the middle of the mountains. There was nowhere to go. There was no civilization for 30 miles in any direction, and it's some hardcore wilderness. But anyway, that was kind of interesting. But the other part that I thought was interesting is a lot of people maybe know or maybe not, but Amelia Earhart was looking to settle down in Wyoming, in that same area, and this POW camp was located probably only about 10 miles from where Amelia Earhart was building her cabin on the right as she took that one last trip. She was going to try to fly around the world, and she disappeared. She was in the process of building a cabin in Wyoming, and the remnants are still visible on Google Maps. And so anyway, just kind of a cool little area, and I didn't know anything about the POW camp, but that was a heck of a lot of fun to learn about that.
Absolutely.
All right, so a couple more to go here, guys. 23. This was in September, and zip back up to eastern Alaska. Kind of another extension of the event you did with the charter flight. This is another Alaskan bush charter, and this was Cape Yakutak, and which is where we finished on the last event, and then you just keep going further and further into Wrangell St. Elias State Park there, past Jake's Bar. You wave at Jake, and I think Horsefeld or something was as far back as we challenged everybody to go, and I missed this one, so I need to go back and refly this.
Yeah, and I actually didn't fly it either. But this is the ends of the earth. There is nothing out there. This is like you fly into the park, and so you're coming from the south out over the Pacific Ocean. You take off from there. You jump up northbound over the Bagley Ice Valley, and which is sounds like the point of no return.
And it
And
is.
yeah, and it is. And you stop by. You go right past Jake's Bar again, but just coming from the opposite direction. And then over like Regal Mountain and up through the park, over on the other side of the park. And there's people that live out there, but I don't know what they do, and I don't even know how you get there unless you're in an airplane. But it's right on the Horsefeld is actually right on the Canadian-Alaskan border, and just 30 miles from absolutely nowhere.
So I'll tell you, I'll clue you in on what people do there and why they live there, because we have people that live in those same places in Wyoming, and they move there so they don't have to be around anybody else. That's what they want. They want literal, serious separation from everybody, and they want to just live off the land. They want to see if they can do that. So they hunt, they fish, they farm, they ranch, they do whatever they have to just to see if they can be subsistence survivors, and but mainly they just don't want to have anything to do with anybody else unless they absolutely have to. So I would guess, I've never been there, but I would guess that probably describes a lot of the people who live up there. They just like being away from. They're not necessarily antisocial, but they just like having space. Just like being able to do their own thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a crazy place.
Well, 15 miles to go. We've almost timed this perfectly. If I was better, I would have stalled a little bit so we were listening to stories instead of watching me try to land this thing at Mountain Air. But we'll jump into the last one we did just last month, which was number 24, the end of the second year, essentially, and we were back in Alaska. And we were up messing around the Kullik Lake area. Although we started in LP Nils' Kodiak, flew to Kullik Lake, and then most of us flew a little bit further north up to Port Allsworth. And this event was, again, almost just a back to your roots. I remember you messaging me saying, "Hey, have you ever seen this?" And it was just some little tiny airstrip in the middle of Alaska there on the Aleutian. Is that the Aleutian Island chain or not quite? But and
Yeah,
I'm like,
kind of at the beginning of the chain. Yeah.
yeah. And again, I think the whole conversation was, how would you find this? If we were flying there, how would you get there? And I think you and me talked for, oh heck, I don't know how long, an hour or so. And well, you could take this pass and this draw and hop over this lake, and you could use this VOR if you had to. And anyway, that was a heck of a lot of fun. I remember that flight last month very, very well.
And Kullik Lake, again, this is another place I had no idea even existed. And this place there's a lodge there at Kullik Lake that you can stay. You can book a fishing trip there. And some of the footage of that place, I mean, you're standing 30 yards from bears that are fishing for the same salmon that you're fishing for, and it's just unbelievable. So if you're a fisherman and want to maybe go on a trip of a lifetime, I'd sort of recommend this place. It's really spectacular.
Like you could walk across the back of the salmon from one side of the creek to the other and not get wet. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And the bears don't even care you're there because there's plenty. They're like, hey, come on in, buddy. There's plenty for everybody.
That's right.
Holy
There's
cow.
footage of bears literally lunging or jumping into a school of 100 fish,
Oh
and
man.
they just have their mouth open
Yep.
and they jump into the middle, and a fish, sure enough, a fish will, you know, happen to fall into their mouth.
Oh man. Yeah, yeah. The other thing about that I want to go back and fly is each airstrip, or each location I should say, has a seaport, so you could fly a float plane in there. And that's I want to go back, and the next time I fly it, I'm going to fly it in Floaty Cody or something, just because I think it looks pretty cool. Uh, I I think I maybe have descended too soon, my friend. I'm at pattern altitude here, but I think I need to crest this little ridge, and I don't know if I'm going to. Um, this could be
Yeah,
interesting. I
that
may have
looks
to I may have to divert slightly, but I think
and
back
you have some clouds to tend
a
to as well.
little bit. Yeah, so I think I'm going to vector myself, and I know I've been in non bush hooligan fashion. I've been total autopilot the entire way, but it's been necessary because I've really my focus has been on the conversation and reliving two wonderful years. And so Ralph, hang don't go anywhere, hang out, but I'm going to kind of give my final thoughts here on the Bush League Backcountry Flying. But I thought I would let you sort of lead off, and just if you can put a bow on it, and wrap it up for everybody these first 2 years, and just yeah, I guess just in summary, go ahead, sir.
Well, it's again, it's one of these things that just sort of happened by accident, and we've met a lot of great people and had a lot of fun. Um, Getting lost and try, not getting lost on purpose, but really actually trying to find our way. Um, and that's sort of been the backbone of this whole thing, is just like you had just mentioned, like, hey, if you were to fly to this place, how would you get there? How
Hmm.
would you navigate to this place? And so that sort of drives what
Oh,
we
it
do
is.
and where we go. And so it's just been a lot of fun. Again, we've got to meet a lot of great folks and experience a lot of things virtually in the sim, and certainly a list of, of vacation destinations that I'm not sure if I'm
Oh
going to make it
man.
to in this lifetime. But it's also been a great, um, if X-Plane's a great platform that you can, if you're the kind of person that likes to tinker and reprogram or repurpose for something else, uh, that's really the thing that's made all of this possible, is that it's relatively easy to do that stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm thrilled to be able to, I enjoy doing it, so I'm thrilled to sort of have an outlet that people are interested in participating in and actually trying some of the things that we've created. So that's been awesome. And this month, what we're doing on Monday is, again, I think gonna be one of the challenging ones,
Hmm.
just as much as any other one. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I would say for me, it's just been such a learning experience, and I not only have I learned about aviation and just what it takes to fly an airplane, what it truly means to fly an airplane. That's been fantastic. I think the scenery creation process to know that I can do that and make an airstrip, that's been just awesome to have as a tool. And but then I think for me, just learning about the people that have flown along, and the friends that we've made as a result. I never could have guessed that just a couple of guys bopping around Papua New Guinea, one afternoon would help me meet people from other countries. And I just now I've got a goal of I'm kind of like you, Down Sim. I'd like to go to some of these locations, but I'd like to what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to go to the places of the people that have helped us out, and like I'd like to go to St. Louis and shake your hand and tell you thanks for teaching me all this stuff, or go to British Columbia and eat some of Kathy Blue Fox's baked goods that she's always teasing us with
That's
and
right.
stuff like that.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Or
been,
or uh,
yeah.
or head south for the winter and see our friend Al
Oh,
South down
and
there.
he always invites us down there, that dirty dog. He tells us how chilly it gets at night down there, into the low 70s. And so,
Hey, and
uh,
Milo just popped into the chat. He might
hey,
even take a venture down under, right?
absolutely. And Milo has been a guy that's has done some great work and contributed scenery, and I think we've tapped into some of his fields as well in the Bush League backcountry. But yeah, good day, Milo, and thanks for coming in, man. I'm just about to botch the landing here into there's mountain air, so I am not 100% sure which way the wind is blowing. I was going to try to fly over the field and see if I could see a windsock here and do this properly. Um,
There's a windsock on that end that you're
okay,
looking.
this end here, right? I thought so. No, or the end up by the clubhouse or whatever.
I think there's one on each end.
All right, where we're looking with the downwind sim binoculars,
You're doing fine in
and
this place too, by the way.
I have no idea. So I do have a little wind indicator here on my. So okay, so the wind is favoring an approach to the northwest. So I'm currently on the
So
downwind leg. Yeah,
3-2, I think. I think it's
correct,
14 and 3-2.
correct. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in a right hand pattern for runway 32. We're going to see if we can successfully land, and then it's time for the little guy to. We got to do some trick or treating tonight. So I'm going to get on the ground here and yeah, we'll go get some candy because as you can tell, he's not at all wound up right now, providing the sound
What's
effects.
what's the costume of choice this year?
He is going to be a worker man. So he's got like a construction, like a bright yellow safety vest and a Melvin Leroy Mr. Safety hard hat. Um, and yeah, so that's what he wants to be. Ooh, I'm tight here. Holy moly. All right, let's put a notch of flaps in. Yeah. Whoa, easy, 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 easy. Slow, slow, slow. Holy cow.
It's really slow.
Yeah, too
Not
slow.
not easy. This is where we all grab onto
Gosh.
the armrest a
Yes.
little bit better.
And rightly so. I've not flown a very good pattern here, you guys. I apologize. Here's the end of the runway and also the edge of the mountain. Go ahead and make your landing rate predictions right now if you want to. And
Either a yes or a no.
that's right. That's all it takes today. I don't even know what the V speed of this thing is. I think I'm about at it right now at 60. I think I'm about right
Yeah,
there. I'm trying to
I,
add some
I would
power
not
in here.
I would not
Second
go any slower until you're
second
over the mountain.
notch. Okay, we're fully configured, which is a little too soon to be fully configured. I thought this had 3 notches. I forgot it's only 2.
Acro Nerd comes in for a favorable 100.
Oh, yeah. Josh, you're far too kind, man. You're far too kind. All right. Can I see? Can I see? Where is it? It's over there. I see it. I see
I,
it. I
I
see it.
see your 100 and I raise you 75.
I'm way too high right now. I'm way too high. So besides being too high and too fast, I'm in good shape. But we have beta descent that we can use if we need. Oh gosh, and we're gonna need it.
Somebody clip that. Besides being too high and too fast, we're in good shape.
There we go. A little beta descent helps us get back on profile. Well, not really, but all right. Let's get squared away here. All right, we're on the localizer, as they say. Uphill slope, so that is also nice. It really helps the depth perception. Oh man, now I'm getting blown to the left here and back to the right. Oh
Stereo
goodness.
cockpit.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I request the cone of silence. Okay, I've made the field. Give it a little power. Come on, let's get on this here.
Go.
See if we can keep it on. Come on, girl. Come on, girl. Where are you going? Here's where it gets really squirrely when the tail gets down on the ground. Boy, I'm doing the Texas two-step right now. Oh, no! Darn it. So close, yet so far. Well,
Don't hit that caravan park there.
not only do I need a $250,000 engine, I also need to help pay for this $1 million caravan. But a pretty good parking job, and I think I'm going to go ahead and back this baby right into its spot here. Wait, how do I get straightened out? Let's just back it into its spot. Oh, so close. Let me clean up the flaps.
Now Valkyrie's got his ADF working, so he's on the way.
Nice. Let's see. I want to turn this way. Nope, this way. Park right next to the old Cub here.
Don't try this at home, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm a professional. You can see by judging by my landing. Yeah, the funny thing about this plane is getting it down to the runway is really, I mean, it's challenging, but I have the biggest challenge right at the very end when I go to when I try to stop it, because if you just touch the brakes, man, it's so sensitive. So I was just trying to beta range it, and I was starting to, you could see it. I was starting to ground loop to the left, and I was full right rudder, and so I thought, I'll just put just a tiny touch of right brake in there, and no, that was not a good idea. Well, let's take a quick look at the replay here. I think the little guy's getting his costume on, so we've got a second.
Well, we live to tell.
Let's see where it all went horribly wrong. All right, so doing okay here. Yeah, we were a little bit high. We managed to get it back fairly close to where it needed to be, I think. You can see the wind's kind of waffling around there.
The approach was pretty good.
And I was pretty unstable right there, but I got it.
Yeah.
I was way crabby. So we're down, we're doing okay. Doing okay. As power comes back, I'm trying to keep a little power in because it's uphill. And then, yeah, it's wanting to pull. Yep, boink. Yep, that was not good.
Al
Well,
Sal says it went wrong from the very beginning when you jumped in that airplane.
You probably are correct, Al. The scary part is I think I'm going to fly the Beaver tomorrow, and I'm even worse with the Beaver. So if you thought this was exciting, tune in tomorrow night.
Very good.
Oh boy.
Well, thanks for letting me tag along and
hey,
stories. It was fun.
That was fun. I think I just about scraped the mountainside on that, didn't I? I think the touchdown rate's going to look halfway decent, guys. It's just the end result that's not going to be very good. Boy, you can see me just trying. I'm trying. It's wanting to pull left, and then I go bait it, and then it wants to pull right. I'm like, oh crap, I'm toast. Yep. I should have left it. If I had it to do over again, I should have just let it roll out a little bit further, and I think I'd have been okay. But that's the takeaway. One last look here, and I'll let everybody go. Ooh, that was kind of a cool shot. You can see the fear in my eyes. I need a thumbnail. For the stream here. I'm gonna get this. That'll be my thumbnail. All right, do I have a tower view on this deal? Everybody looks good from the tower view. Where am I? There I am. are just hard to see. There I am. I just about hit the side of the mountain right there, I think. Right about there. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
It's
Oh,
a
I
difficult airstrip.
just about went into the pond. Beta. Bad decision. Doink. Oh, well, that's how it goes. All right, you guys. I have to cut the outro a little bit short, but let me echo the same thing that Downwind Sim said. Thank you so much for coming by, everybody that popped in. Rob, thanks for the resub, and I will see you guys tomorrow. We're 8 p.m. Mountain or Eastern time, right? Downwind Sim.
8 Eastern, yes sir. 8 Eastern.
We'll do. Downwind Sim will have a quick little briefing over in his voice channel, and then we'll start flying.
Sounds great.
Have a good night, my friend.
You too.
Hey, we'll see everybody later. Yep. God bless.